So, Lauren, thank you again so much for coming on. So, what we're going to do first is kind of start with a little cocktail hour to get the juices flowing. So, just going to ask you a couple questions, just get to know you a little bit.
Great, I'm excited.
Yeah. So, how did you get into this industry of silk flowers, specifically for weddings?
Yes. Okay. So my cousin and I wanted to start a company several years ago. And honestly, we were both really inspired by Rent the Runway. Like we just saw how Rent the Runway was gaining so much popularity amongst like really, young, hip, modern women. And we thought the concept was genius, how you could, take like a really expensive item and rent it for the weekend and then send it back. And we just thought was amazing. So we're like, how can we apply that to a different industry? And we were both in that season of life where you feel like you're going to weddings like every other weekend.
Mhm.
And we were seeing like our friends and our family like trying to like save in the wedding budget. A lot of times that fell on flowers and nothing was ever like a really good solution. And so that's kind of when the light bulb moment went off. We're like, how can we do like take the Rent the Runway concept and apply it to wedding flowers? And that's how we ended up here. So
Amazing.
yeah.
That's so cool. And how many weddings do you do a year? Just about.
Right now we're averaging over 1,000 weddings a month. So it's a lot.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is a lot. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I know. We first started, I remember like I'll never forget this moment. I was talking to a neighbor about the company where we're starting. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna start this company. And I was like so excited. And I was like, if we can do 12 weddings a month, this would be like a viable business. Like I was like pumped up, ready to go.
Yes.
And like fast forward a few years and we're doing over 1,000 weddings a month. And it's just like, wow, it's
Oh,
incredible.
that is unbelievable. That is
Yeah.
1,000 weddings a month. I just cannot imagine. That's
Yeah, we actually expanded our warehouse last year, which was very needed. And it's been amazing just to be in this much bigger space. We have a lot more, room to store products, for the picking team, the packing team, the production team. So yeah, we have like a great facility and a great team that helps, make all of this happen.
so you guys are massive, clearly, and it's clear why. I mean, your pieces are so, so stunning. I've always really admired them from the time I first saw them. And then once I saw them in person, I was like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
couldn't believe it because you just don't see faux flowers like that. I mean, I've seen them a ton. I've seen people try to make them work, try to put
yeah,
their own pieces together, and it just doesn't translate well. And then you're stuck with all these centerpieces.
yeah,
The fact that it's a rental is just so huge.
yeah.
It's awesome. But what?
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
So
I think it's funny because I kind of had like the same reaction that you did when you first heard about it. Like my cousin and I were brainstorming and she was like, what if we did like, silk flowers that we could rent out? And I think my first perception was just like your craft store flowers. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can get on board with that. Like it just seems like, something that I just like couldn't get behind. And then once like we kind of like did some more research and I realized that there was this whole world of like really high end, beautiful silk flowers that you could use to create collections that were like on trend and still like look amazing that the bride wouldn't be sacrificing, then I was like, yes, this is it. But yeah, my first reaction was the same thing, like Hobby Lobby flowers, like I don't think so.
that's huge what you said too, on trend, because
Yeah,
especially if you're doing it yourself and you're trying to go to a craft store and you're not in the industry hand picking those yourselves, you can't really get that quality of what's trending right now. And we'll
right.
we'll definitely get into that too. But just before we wrap up our cocktail hour, what's the best part of designing wedding flowers to you?
I think the best part of the company, I think for a lot of people on our team, is getting the feedback that we get from real brides like all the time who say that renting their flowers from Something Borrowed Blooms was their best wedding decision. Because I know brides make a lot of decisions when they're planning their wedding. And if they are saying that Something Borrowed Blooms was their best decision, that means everything to me. So I just think like we're just so proud of like this alternative and how brides are just like resonating with it so much, and that they're able to afford and, get that look that they've been dreaming of like their whole lives, but at a price point that's like reasonable, and they can feel like responsible about it, and it's more sustainable. So like all of those things, like I just feel like, I couldn't be prouder of what we're doing, what we're offering to the industry.
I have chills. It's just so genius.
Yeah.
And I love that. There is no better feeling than having that smile on a bride's face and knowing you just kind of made their entire event so much easier and better.
Yeah.
So we'll get right into the main event now. One of the hardest parts about planning the wedding and why it's so stressful, like you said, there's so many decisions to be made.
Mhm.
And a lot of brides don't have any experience, first of all, planning a party, let alone planning design, things like that. So sometimes, when they're looking for something, they have a hard time figuring out what it is they want style wise. So
Yeah.
where do you draw your inspo from, and how could brides maybe apply that when they're looking to kind of set their style and their tone for their wedding?
Yeah, I think there's like several things that we take into consideration. So one of them is that we go to all of like the bridal markets every year. So we're at New York Bridal Fashion Week, we're at Chicago National Bridal Market. So like we are there in the mix with like the newest trends that bridal will see over the next 12 to 18 months. So
Okay.
that always gives us a really good sense of like what's coming next, what are brides going to be looking for. But beyond that, I think we take a lot of inspiration just from like pop culture and like fashion. Like we're always looking at like what kind of like fashion styles are trending, what color palettes are like really popular right now. Even like shows like Bridgerton was so popular last year that we were like felt really strongly about doing like an English garden style collection, so really just looking at the things that we think are, top of mind for our customers and translating that into a collection that fits their needs, while also being mindful of like the timelessness of a wedding, right? Like there are certain things that are super trendy and they're going to be hot for like a year or two. And then we know they're going to like, kind of like roll back, and that's okay. So we're always trying to like balance like that really like hot, trendy moment, but still balance it with like the most important day of your life. And how can you feel like this is the decision I want to look back on like for photos forever, right? So
Yes.
it's that mix. So we're always balancing that out.
It's all about the photos. And I love that you
Yeah.
said Bridgerton, because the Millie collection
Yes.
really, I was drawn to it, and I didn't watch Bridgerton, but I'm obsessed with it, and I'm so obsessed with the looks of it.
Yeah.
And when Abby sent me the different collections, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so Bridgerton. It's so
Yes.
chic. Like you
Exactly.
said, timeless. So when you look back on your photos, it's everything. So
Yes.
gorgeous.
I know. So that like color of the year, like Pantone color of the year last year was Very Perry, which again played into Millie perfectly. So we're already looking at like trend colors for next year, which I'm really excited about because one of them came out yesterday. So
Oh
yeah,
my God, I cannot wait to see.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what is your process for actually selecting the flowers?
So we attend market specifically for florals twice a year. Again, that's where we're seeing like the newest trends, the newest colors, styles, whatever. Of course, florals are, they don't have as much creative like flexibility as like fashion does, because of course our aim is to select florals that are lifelike and realistic. And so we're not going to select, teal blue rose. Like we're going there for like really lifelike things that like look amazing. So when we go to market, we have a design in mind already, and then we're going to simply source the stems at the individual components that will bring that our newest collection to life. So we spend about 2.5 days like scouring thousands of square feet of inventory of like silk floral inventory, and we'll maybe select 12 to 15 pieces in order to build up the next collection. But we spend like days doing that, and we're looking at quality, we're looking at size, style, color. We've gotten to the point now that like our purchasing is like large enough that we can actually start working with the manufacturer. So if we find a flower that we like, but maybe the size isn't quite right, or maybe the color is a little off, like then we'll start saying, okay, we need you to produce this in a way that fits our needs. And then they're willing to work with us to create flowers exclusively for Something Flowered Blooms so that we can create like the best end product that we can. So that's what we do. We do that twice a year, and we spend a lot of time and effort, like really hand picking every single stem that we use in each collection.
That is so incredible. And one of the best parts about doing that and having that hand in it and just curating it so perfectly is if you're in the floral industry or the wedding industry, you know there's variation in flowers depending
Yes.
on season, depending on so many different factors. And you
Yeah.
cannot guarantee that that bouquet or that centerpiece is going to look like that one that you had in mind. So,
Exactly.
I mean, doing Something More Blooms is really like the only way you can.
I know. I
Go
mean, that's what
into it.
happened to me at my wedding day. Like, I met with the florist, showed her what I liked, thought we're on the same page. And then she shows up on the day with my wedding with a box of flowers that like, I was like, that is not what we talked about. Like, it just wasn't like and then of course it was like, oh, the flowers weren't in stock and they weren't available and this and that. But at this point, you're 2 hours away from walking down the aisle. Like, what do you do? And I
Absolutely.
spent like the thousands of dollars. So it was like such a waste at the end of that day. I was like, this is terrible. How can we fix this? And I feel like we have been ever since like on this mission to just revolutionize the wedding flower industry.
It's so true. And the amount of brides I've seen in just hysterics, tears, it's
Yes.
just not what I wanted. I spent so much money and you can't really, there's not great ways to donate too because
I know.
it's so expensive to do it. So you're
Hmm.
right. I mean, they really just do go to waste.
Hmm.
It's really sad.
I know. Yeah.
But um anyway, so how have you seen trends really kind of progress and change over the last couple of years?
I think that, wedding flower trends are interesting because they're pretty evergreen, like they're pretty timeless. And like I mentioned earlier, like you see some seasonality and some trends kind of like, pop in for a moment and they'll have their moment and then they'll kind of phase out. But like your classic white and green will never go out of style. Like
Mhm.
that's the number one selling collection for us. It's our Jane collection. It's like a ton of like eucalyptus greenery, white roses and peonies. I mean, it's so classic. It goes with everything. It literally takes the guesswork. Like if you don't know what to do for florals, like Jane's your girl. Like you can pair with
Mhm.
any color and you'll be good to go. So it's like interesting to kind of see how those kind of staples are like always there and consistent. I think the things that change are more like shape and like the mix of florals, like if it's a real if you have a lot of variation in florals, then it looks very layered and rich. And then you also can kind of lean towards like a very simplistic where you have like minimal floral variation. It's a lot more like holistic and it looks very chic and simple
Mhm.
and elegant, like but purposefully. And I feel like
Yes.
that's kind of like come into play over the last year. I think the pandemic honestly has kind of changed that too. I think that people are, so tired of being cooped up and they're like ready to have fun and they're less concerned about like giving into like societal pressures of like what a wedding needs to look like or be. And so
Mhm.
we're seeing more and more couples like just doing what they want to do and like just not worried about like the stuffiness of it all. And so
Yes.
I think that you'll still continue to see that play out in florals. Like we're seeing a lot more color, a lot more playfulness and shapes and like the movement of the arrangements. And I'm really excited about that because that's kind of something we have on the horizon, just a little more playful, like just fun, colorful, vibrant, like for those moments where you're just like, you know what, this is like the best day of my life. I want it to look and feel happy. And that's what I think, we're going to continue to see that for another year or two.
Definitely. Yeah. I know 100 years ago when I started, they were very bulbous and tight
Yeah.
and
Yes.
kind of polished looking. And now you're right. They're just really fun and eclectic. And I know some of your newer collections definitely incorporate those details. So
Yeah.
they're just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So I know you said that you have some new styles and colors coming up. So what do you kind of predict is going to be the future of florals in terms of bouquets and centerpieces, garlands in the next year or so?
Yeah, I really think that the colorful, playful vibe is going to be here to stay. In fact, Pantone,
What are your top reasons to use silk centerpieces? I know there's a lot.
like number one is affordability. Like we offer savings of over 70%. Have a budget in mind, and you're trying to maybe allocate that budget towards things that are more meaningful to you. Maybe it's a photographer you've always dreamed of using. Maybe it's a wedding dress that you fell in love with that you can't wait to buy and keep and hand down to your own daughter one day. Or, maybe it's like the honeymoon of your dreams, that like all of those things might mean more to you than the florals. Then it's a great way for you to like take that money and reallocate it towards something more meaningful. And you're able to save so much on your florals, but you're still getting like a really beautiful maximum look by renting your flowers. An average wedding flower order with something for our blooms is about $600. So
Wow.
that can like, get you pretty far. So number one, affordability. If you're looking for something, just not as, expensive as fresh flowers, and that's a great
Sure.
option for you. Another is like sustainability. So if you're someone who's more focused on, like I want to make really sustainable choices on my wedding day, the wedding industry itself is very wasteful, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, a lot of things just get tossed in the trash. This is a great option to have like waste-free wedding flowers. Like they'll be reused again. You don't have to worry about like adding to the carbon footprint or like the waste of the day. So this is a great way for you to like really feel responsible and like good in your choice with like having a more sustainable option. And then like there's so much that comes along with like just the online e-com convenience. Like one, you're not having to take off of work to go meet with a florist or multiple florists and waiting for quotes, and you're emailing back and forth, and like all the time that goes into like planning with a traditional vendor. But two, to your point, like you mentioned earlier, like you'll be able to see exactly what the flowers will look like when you're walking down the aisle if you use something Borrowed Blooms. We have so many real wedding photos on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all the places that you'll see real brides using the same products that you'll be able to use for your wedding day. So it takes all of like the unexpected, like potential, I don't want to say disaster or like surprise, but like, that stress out of like not really knowing what you're going to get, like, exactly what you're going to get. And just seeing that inspiration from other real brides, you can like get a really good sense of like, wow, this bride has a wedding that's very similar to mine, same color palette, same venue type, whatever it might be. And so it really just helps you visualize that moment before, so that you're not having to stress or worry so much about like pulling it all together. So I think, those three things in general, just like the affordability, sustainability, and like just convenience are like the best reasons why I think you should consider renting your flowers.
100%. And just forgive me, I have to ask, was it 70%? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so we're typically 70% less than a fresh florist. Average wedding flower cost across the US, and this varies greatly depending on your
Sure.
region,
Sure.
is anywhere between like $2,500 to
Okay.
$3,500 for
Yeah.
just your standard wedding flower
Mhm.
for your bridal party. And like I mentioned earlier, like an average wedding flower order for us is closer to $600. And now that really varies again with like if you decide to get additional decor, like grand centerpieces and garlands and all those things, which you can do for the
Sure.
same price you'd probably pay a fresh florist for like just your bridal party flowers. You know what I mean? So you
Absolutely.
can take that budget and rent some of those items and really maximize it. So now you're not just getting your bouquets and boutonnieres and a few centerpieces. Now you're getting all your bridal party flowers, all your centerpieces. You can get garland like galore. Like our garland rents anywhere from like, I don't know, 15 to $50.
Wow.
Whereas like a fresh
Wow.
garland like rents for like $100 a foot sometimes. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
not
yeah.
rents, if you purchase for $100 a foot, you know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, we have grand centerpieces, like your big, large focal point centerpieces. So you can really maximize your budget if you're open to renting. It just gets you like a huge like bang for your buck.
You know what my favorite thing that you have is
What is it?
boutonnieres, because
Oh,
they come, and forgive me, they come like crap all the time because they're just a single flower. They're sitting.
yeah,
Gentlemen love them so much, but they are not careful. They're
yeah.
trying to get them on and they always look terrible. So I think that having the boutonniere, the sunflower boutonniere, is just absolutely genius. I mean, all of your products
Thanks.
are so fabulous, they're just
The
so
boutonniere.
practical to me and I'm obsessed.
Okay, I have to say, I'm with you with that too, because in my experience, like traditional boutonnieres, they would come with that one like pearl pen, like just
Uh-huh.
that one pen, and you like stick it through the boutonniere, like through the rose and through the jacket, and it's like so hard, like you're gonna impale someone or your hand, and it's
Oh
like
yeah.
always a commotion. And so when we were designing our boutonnieres, I'm like, we've got to make this foolproof, right? Like if there's not a mom there who knows exactly how to pin boutonnieres, these guys have no chance. So I'm
Yes.
like, what can we do to make it super easy? So all of our boutonnieres actually have like a safety pin on the back, so it's so easy, like you don't have to worry about like sticking the pearl pin through the rose.
And when I first got into it, I didn't know anything. I was learning, and the amount of men that I stabbed, so sad. I'm so sorry. So, as far as really quick before I ask you what the ordering process is, for someone who was maybe hesitant to try, what would you tell them?
Okay, so if you're hesitant to try, I totally understand your hesitation. It's, we knew the biggest challenge when we started the company was to change the mindset of the consumer. Like,
Mhm.
and it's, we're in the wedding industry, which is like such a traditional space, right? So you're really having to change someone's mind about a very traditional moment in their lives. And it's not just any moment, it's like the most important moment, right? So we knew that was always going to be a challenge, but we also knew that like once you were able to do that, then like the reward becomes so much greater.
Mhm.
So if you're on the fence, I would say a few things. First, like start stalking our Instagram, join our Facebook group. We have this amazing Facebook group where real brides like talk to each other all day long. They post their pictures, they ask each other questions, they ask for advice, and it's amazing. It's the best group. And you can see real, couples sharing how they're planning. And then if you really, needed some reassurance, then we do offer preview packs. So you're able to rent any two products. You can choose between bridesmaids bouquets and centerpieces, and it's a great way for you to get your hands on the products before you make your wedding order. It'll give you a great idea of like the quality, the style, the color, so you can feel really confident and placing your wedding order. If you feel really strongly about getting them or seeing them in person before committing to placing an order. So that's something that we thought was really important, because we know that there's a lot of people out there who need to touch and feel and see in person before they can commit. So the preview pack is a way that we can offer that to couples, and they're not having to, make that decision feeling a little unsure. That will like really help you sure up your idea. So
Absolutely. I would definitely recommend that to anyone. Just having experienced them firsthand. Sometimes people are like, oh, it can look a certain way in pictures, and you just don't know unless you've actually seen it. And even what struck me about it is the way that they move. I took them
mhm.
outside just to take some pictures of them, some
Yeah,
video, and I was like, wow, these just have this gentle,
yeah.
natural movement in the wind. I was
Mhm.
like, I've never seen silk flowers like this.
Yeah,
They're
I know.
beautiful.
I know. I'm glad you took them outside. That's actually one of our recommendations. I think sometimes people, get them inside and they go in their kitchen where they have this like fluorescent light and they start taking pictures, and like the color looks a little weird. And I'm like, yeah, because you have like a big yellow fluorescent light above you. I'm like,
Yeah,
go
your real flowers
outside.
would look awful
Yeah.
in that light as
Yeah.
well.
So it's always a good idea just to go outside, like some natural light, like
Mhm.
take some pictures different times of day just to kind of see how they look. And so yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that you went outside, because a lot of people I think like kind of get a little stuck. And I'm like,
Yeah.
don't take pictures in your kitchen, like
Oh
go
my
outside.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you take a picture yourself, like, and you're not
Yeah.
natural light, it's so
Yeah.
terrible. So, what is the process? Let's say, you get your sample pack and you want to move forward. Kind of what does that look like?
Yes. So it's intended to be super simple and stress-free. So shop everything that you're interested in directly on the website, somethingforourblooms.com. You can shop by collection, you can shop by product type, or you can even filter for like color and style. So like if you're like, okay, I want white florals, and you can select that filter and it'll show you all of the white, bouquets or centerpieces that we offer. So once you have an idea of all the things you want for your wedding day, you add those items to your cart. You would check out, and that would include entering your wedding date to make so your wedding date is affiliated with your order. And then you're charged a 50% deposit whenever you place your order. So you're not paying in full. And you're also able to come back to your customer portal through our website while you're wedding planning, even after you've placed your order, and you can make edits to your order along the way. We know it's so important for brides to have that, autonomy and power over their order, to be able to make changes along the way. We know like things come up, something changes, and rather than having to reach out to somebody or rely on someone else to make those edits for you, you can log into your customer portal and make edits directly to your existing order. So you can change the quantities. Maybe, you added a bridesmaid, or maybe one dropped out. You need to change your quantity of your bridesmaid bouquet. Maybe when you placed your order, you weren't sure how many tables you would have, so your centerpiece count was still kind of up in the air. My suggestion is just to place the order for like your best guess, and then as you get closer to your day, you can go and adjust those quantities. You also can, if you completely change your mind, you're like, I thought I wanted white flowers, but now I want like colorful, like boho, Nina. Like, you can go in and change your entire collection. Like, you can change all your products. And we just feel like really strongly, I feel really strongly about giving brides like the power to do that, like the power over their order. So I always say this because I think sometimes people kind of wait, and they're like waiting to place their order because they're still just figuring things out. But I just want to make sure like they know that they can place an order, like have it all reserved for their date, so they can like confirm, that there won't be any inventory issues and things like that. And then if they need to make changes along the way, they can. So anyway, that was kind of long-winded, but you can place your order 50% deposit. You can make edits to your order, and then the order will be shipped out to you and delivered to you 3 days before your event date. And that's when the remaining balance is charged. So if you do make edits to your order, your balance just adjusts based on whatever edits you make. And then whatever remaining balance is owed is charged when the order is shipped. And the flowers will be delivered to you 3 days before the event date. So if you get married on Saturday, they'll get there on Wednesday. It includes prepaid return labels and a return checklist. Each box actually has a label on the outside that includes like the items and quantities that are in that box. So whoever you are like handing this off to, like whoever's going to be in charge of repacking the flowers or whatever, like it's super simple. It literally says 3 garlands, and they know to put like 3 garlands back in this box, or like 8 centerpieces and 2 bridesmaids bouquets. Like, you just put everything back in the original packaging, you put the prepaid return labels, and then drop it off at FedEx the following business day. So
Amazing.
super.
Yeah, it really is that easy. Also, I mean, I mentioned I got my sample package and it just comes in. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, I talked with Abby about this. They smell so fabulous. I was like, I can't give them back. I need this smell in my life all day, every day.
I know. I know. Abby has this idea to launch this scented candle that has the same scent as the flowers, because she's like, Lauren, this would be such a good idea. I'm like, okay,
Lauren, that is
such
a good idea, because there's so much connected to the scent, your wedding day scent. And it just brings you back to a place like really, it's a strong, it's not potent in a bad way. It's not overwhelming, but it's just this very, very light, delicious floral smell. And it definitely would carry through the space. And I think if you did a candle, brides would be obsessed. It's such a good gift too, from like bridesmaids or maid of honor or mother of the bride. I know we were talking a little bit about, going in and being able to change your collections. Can you mix and match collections?
Yes, you can. So everything on the site is a la carte, meaning there's no packages, there's no minimums. You can order 1 boutonniere from one collection, 5 centerpieces from a different collection. Like, you can make your order whatever you want. So if you're a bride that's starting out and planning, and you're like, you know what, this is not my specialty, I don't know where to start, then my suggestion would be pick the collection that you like the most, and you can use the entire collection, and you know that everything will look cohesive and everything will match and look beautiful together. But if you're someone who's like, no, I have a very clear vision of what I have in mind. I want, color in this area, this style, and this area, and you know exactly what you want, then you can consider mixing and matching. So that means that you can use, the white centerpieces from Audrey, if you want like a super simple white centerpiece look, and then you can use more colorful, you know, bridesmaids bouquets or whatever it might be. So you can mix and match. Definitely, that happens all the time. Like a lot of people mix and match. Even little things like the corsages or boutonnieres. Like you might love the Jane collection and everything in it, and then realize, that corsage, like I think my mom would rather the corsage from Taylor, you know, and then you can go and like get that corsage, and like it still looks beautiful together. So yes, don't feel like you have to stay within one collection, but if you are someone who's like just not sure, then staying with one collection is like a safe bet, because we vetted it, like we designed it to look amazing all together. So yeah, you have both options.
Gorgeous. And what's your favorite collection?
It changes. So I have to like remember, because like people will call me out. Like we did like a quiz one time on Instagram, and like I had changed my mind. So I was like, wait, you used to say it was Cameron, and I'm like, you're right. But like, you know, it's been a few years, and
I'm a
mind changes.
person and my mind changes day
I know.
to day.
I know, just like you, right? That's why I like to change your order on the website. But right now, I think Millie's still holding like my number one pick. I just love that style. I love the butterfly hydrangea. I love all the lilac and the whites and the blues. I just think it's so pretty and dainty and feminine and sweet.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's like a
But we
party.
do have some new collections coming out next year, and I think there might be something that might coming soon. So
some competition for Millie, perhaps.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So next we're just going to get into a little after party segment. This is just some fun stuff. So if it pertains to flowers, it's great. It doesn't have to. Just weddings in general. I'm sure you've seen thousands from all of your brides and grooms that you've done in the past. So first question I have for you: what's your favorite part about a wedding?
Okay, this is weird, but like one of my favorite things, oops, did I lose you? Hold on. Okay, so one of my favorite things about weddings in general is the rehearsal dinner, which I know is like not the wedding day, but I just love that moment the night before, because it's like your close, immediate people, and it's a little more intimate, and like I just love the rehearsal dinner. But on the day of the wedding, I would say like my favorite is, and this is kind of changed as I've gotten older too, but like that moment, it's like you can kind of see the groom and see, you know, his reaction to his bride. That's always like such a special moment, and usually makes me a little weepy. And then now that I'm older and I have sons, like now I find myself looking at the mother of the groom to watch her son, and then I really get weepy. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, I have chills with you just saying it. It gets me every time. I cannot watch an honor dance without being in tears.
I know. So like those moments, those like really intimate, special moments, like they're the best. Like that's why we're here, right?
They really are. They really are the best. And I love the answer for the rehearsal dinner, because you're right. It's that time where it's like everything's almost here, and it's the exciting buildup. And if there is anything that's gone awry, there's not much that can do now. So you just kind of have to enjoy it at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's like hyped up, and it's such a fun night. So
yeah. What's your favorite wedding flower, if you had to pick one flower?
I mean, you can, like the rose in general has so many varieties and so many colors and so many styles that like you can't go wrong with like a beautiful rose in all different forms. Like so it's just like that's just like the queen flower in my opinion.
Totally.
But if I wanted to get a little more like detailed, I would say right now Millie uses this butterfly hydrangea that I just love. And it's like this amazing floral that the hydrangea itself is like really compact in the center. It was like really, really tight little intricate little petals, but then it has these sprigs of like these little floaty petals on top. So it's like, it's such a pretty like composition of like this airy, floaty, whimsical flower, like, but based on this like really beautiful tight hydrangea. So that's probably like my like more distinct answer, but yeah, I would say those two.
I love that. I love that. What would your honeymoon recommendation be?
I mean, honestly, the honeymoon's the best part about all of it, in my opinion.
Really is. It really
so don't skimp on the honeymoon. Like rent your wedding flowers, save some money, and then splurge on the honeymoon, right?
Yes.
That honestly is my opinion. I Personally, I would something where you can like just relax because you're coming off the heels of like a really stressful time. You know, you've been so busy, so crazy. So just a place you can kind of get away, just like be with your partner, your new spouse, and just relax in like a really beautiful setting. So that's my advice.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I totally agree with you. I went to St. Lucia and after the wedding week, I was like, I want to just do nothing. I want to be a beached whale and just
Yeah,
enjoy my time doing nothing.
exactly.
What is your favorite cake flavor? If you had to pick one.
I think my favorite cake flavor is like a toasted butternut pecan, like, or it's this
Mm.
toasted pecan buttercream, roasts the pecans and then mixes them in the icing, like in the filling, and it's so good. It makes it have this like kind of like smoky, rich flavor of the cake, but it's still really sweet with the buttercream. So that's like my favorite.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, who is this baker? It sounds
I
amazing.
know, right? That's
Oh,
so good.
oh my gosh. Okay. And last fun question I have for you. What song do you need to hear at a wedding?
I mean, okay, so my husband's like a huge Lionel Richie fan. So like
Oh,
if there's a Lionel
same.
Richie song that comes on, he's pumped up. So whenever he's excited and dancing, that makes me excited. So if
All
you have
night
a
long.
Lionel Richie, yes, exactly. That's like his number one.
It's
So
the
that
best song
plays,
ever.
then I know he's gonna be on the dance floor, and that means we're gonna have a good night. So
Oh,
yeah,
I love that. Lauren, thank you
yeah.
so much. Is there anything that you wanted to add? Do you want to plug any of your social website? Where can
Yeah.
people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to learn more about Something Borrowed Blooms and renting your wedding flowers, then definitely follow us on all the channels. So on Instagram, we're at SB Blooms. We have a Facebook page, of course. We have a private Facebook group, which is super cool. It's SB Blooms Insiders. So join that. That's where you get all the inside tips. We're on TikTok and Pinterest and trying to think where else. Something Borrowed Blooms on all of those. And then our website is somethingborrowedblooms.com. And that's where you can shop and find all the newest amazing products that we offer. And if you ever need anything, you can get in touch with us by emailing us at info@sbblooms.com, and we'll always be happy to help you.
Love it so much and can't wait to see the upcoming collections. Thank you
Yes.
so much for coming on, Lauren. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. No, this is really fun. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye bye.